We're gonna give
Hey
everyone the
everybody,
money back.
this is Bryon Graff and Keith Roerdink, and we gave everybody just a little bit of a test, a little glimpse into what we were trying to figure out. I think we figured out live webcasting.
It's a little more complicated than you would think.
You would think. Well, we've talked quite a bit after doing a Packers show for a couple of years about what it would look like if we could finally take our talents to the WWW world, and that's not wrestling.
And what is it like?
Yeah.
And this is what we came
Well,
up with.
so Keith writes for PackerReport.com. All I do is sit on a couch and watch TV nowadays. So we figured since Keith was at the game at Lambeau Field, a terrific opening for the Packers in their 100th season, and all the dramatics and the flair that Aaron Rodgers has for that. And it was the story that Keith covered and put on PackerReport.com. Keith, what was it like there, being at the game and then hearing from Aaron Rodgers following that contest?
I mean, I said to one of the reporters sitting next to me that I felt like the 100th season celebration began and then very quickly ended before starting again. I think there was so much excitement and enthusiasm, especially just given what a train wreck last season was. I mean, we all know this team goes as far as Aaron Rodgers takes it. So he was healthy. The new contract, we didn't get Khalil Mack, but we were going to see him at Lambeau Field anyways. I mean, the stage was set for an amazing open to the season, and it was a rough start to say the least. So, I think right off the bat, you've kind of got this sinking "oh no" feeling, and that's before Rodgers goes down. When he goes down, it looks bad. I mean, I think within the press box, we're looking around. To me, I thought right away maybe he broke a bone in his lower leg. The way he went down, the weight of Robertson Harris going on top of him, to me, I'm thinking broken bone in the leg. And really, all things considered, that could be the best case scenario because maybe you come back, you've got the bye week midseason. Maybe somehow you come back, maybe the wheels don't completely fall off. But as it turns out, it was a knee injury. So, DeShone Kizer comes in and, it looks a lot like Brett Hundley. So it wasn't until he came back in and of course he's standing on the sideline for that first drive when the Bears go down and make it 20-0. And really at that point, it felt like it was 48 or 51-0. I mean, it didn't 20 to, normally 20-0 feels bad. This was one of those where it didn't feel as close as the scoreboard. So
Math.
It was a total mess, but that said, I think just seeing him walk out of the tunnel, you're almost rubbing your eyes like, is he walking out of the tunnel? Because when the look on his face when he goes on that card, and they showed a close up on TV. I mean, just stone face, little bit of glassy eyed. He kind of had that look of, I mean, whether you're an athlete or whether you're just a weekend warrior, when you hurt yourself, you usually have a sense of I've messed something up. I'm going to be out of action for a while. And to me, he had that look. So to see him come out of the tunnel, just that was inspiring. To see him jog when he got to the sideline was amazing. And of course, when he goes in, it's just, it just was nothing you'd ever seen. Knowing that he was, he called himself a statue. That's probably a little exaggeration because he still would move up in the pocket and slide a little bit. But I mean, certainly that aspect of his game, his legs were taken away from him at that point. But what he was able to do just right off the bat with, and even just getting a field goal on that first drive, I don't know where I place this victory within the pantheon of Packer games and certainly everything I've been able to see. But I mean, one of the most amazing season opening wins I can think of.
Yeah, talk about so Kizer goes in there, and what's the mentality for the offensive line? Because all of a sudden it's different than, with Aaron Rodgers back there. But going forward, Aaron played different. In the pocket, the 75-yard touchdown, it wasn't him breaking out of the pocket. It was Cobb going through on his route, and then as they extended the play, then obviously that was the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, and that was, everything he did when he got back in, and it was all different. I think, and my editor Bill Huber at Packer Report said that the average length of time from the first half to the second half dropped from 3.88 on the release to, it was more than a full second. Now, there were passes that came out of his hand in under a second, but in the first half, he likes to slide around. He likes to move around, away from the pressure. I mean, there were times where, almost 8 seconds he's holding the ball, waiting for someone to flash open. This was a quick rhythm passing game. And given what Khalil Mack was doing and given what Akeem Hicks was doing, I think that's what it had to be. So, whether it was that drop back and the perfect throw to Geronimo Allison, and man, it was, his receivers, no doubt. He put the ball right where he had to. He released it at the right time. I think you got an appreciation for just the mind of Aaron Rodgers and the arm where, one sense gets taken away and suddenly everything else just gets heightened. But from that catch, what Devontae Adams did once he got that ball, just the stutter step and the inside out kind of shake. But, that pass to Randall Cobb, and Cobb turns around and it's just all green in front of him. And the moves he made, and you had Ty Montgomery running all the way downfield, and just, to get three scoring drives like that, 3 touchdowns is just, it's unbelievable. And I don't know if people were watching this, but you talk about Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is the guy that almost caught Cobb at the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
He chased him all the way downfield. So, I'm sure Bear fans are like, just, my son, three of my son's 7th grade football coaches for Wass area youth football are Bears fans. So I could not wait to show up the next day and give them a hard time. But, I told him, I said, Khalil Mack is worth everything you're paying him. Because, there is nothing more certainly he could have done. But, that play where a guy is running, from his pass rush to turn around, 78 some yards to almost make that play was incredible. But just, it's hard to think of a game where just the precision of where Rodgers put that ball, the timing, and then what guys were able to do afterwards was just, there was no room for error. And after passing, 212 yards passing in the second half, 9 for 12. The 3 incompletions, he had 2 on that first field goal drive. He had the 2 incompletions in a row to Jimmy Graham. Tight ends were not a big part of that game plan, although Lance Kendricks did have a key 3rd down pass on kind of an inside left to right slant. But and then the throwaway at the end where they needed to use up 3 seconds. But up until, and I don't know how you can have quarterback ratings a funky kind of thing, but up until that final incompletion at the end, he had a perfect quarterback rating. So, that says it all. But it just unbelievable. Just when you, gosh, Bryan, you know how much I love Brett Favre, and it's
right.
But
so this is up there somewhere. Aaron talked about Favre, talked about the precedent that had been set, and he needed to come back out.
This is that game. And it's not the biggest comeback in Packer history. It's not, I think it tied, this was the 5th time they've come back from 20 points down. It's the 2nd biggest comeback at home, but it's the first time that they've come back from that much in the 4th quarter. So it's their largest 4th quarter comeback. But it's hard not to watch Rodgers play, and, championship rings aside. We're not going to catch Tom Brady. It's hard to think you have seen it. To me, it's always the eyeball test of just put on film of these guys and who looks like the greatest quarterback. And it's hard to watch what Rodgers does and what he did Sunday night and think he is not one of the best players to ever just put on a helmet and throw a football. It's stunning, and we take it for granted seeing it every week, but it is, it was crazy insane. I still can't believe they won that game.
Yeah, that was awesome to watch. So we're doing this podcast that we're calling "It's a Dig Route." We just thought we'd come up with that fun phrase. It was something that went back to the Green and Gold Gridiron show.
Little inside joke for us there.
Little inside joke. So that's what the real inside joke is, that we're actually on Facebook somehow, somewhere. We're actually getting reactions.
We 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 are.
We got a
We were
couple,
getting reactions when we were practicing with no sound. So those people have got to be really excited, or not. I don't know. They
It
may
was
have liked it better as a silent movie.
the what's this reaction. So it's late on a Tuesday, and as the NFL week works, you get into Wednesday, and that's where you can really start to look ahead. So it's Vikings week, so you turn around, you go Chicago Bears, you go Minnesota Vikings. A lot is up in the air about Rodgers and his knee at this point. So we should find out more tomorrow as we get into it. So the Tuesday is kind of the day where, Monday is the recap from Sunday, and then we kind of move forward. So we should learn a lot as we go throughout the week, and what his health is with that knee as he gets ready to play against their rivals to the West.
Yeah, and and they haven't said too much, and it's funny, you get that adrenaline going. His on-field interview, of course he's going to play. By the time he got to the post-game press conference, and myself and the other guys are asking him questions, I mean, I don't want to say he's hedging a little bit, but he didn't really give any details about what was wrong. He said it was in a lot of pain. He said that a few times. He did say that the determination was made that he would not injure the knee anymore by coming back. So, there's speculation. What is that? A torn meniscus? I mean, there's things you can play with, and I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a self-proclaimed statue. Is I mean, who's
You can play with
I
his
would take
hand
that
skill,
over.
you can't play with Kaiser.
Well, right, yeah, and I mean, Kaiser may, God bless him, he may as well have been Hundley. I mean, he looked fairly awful. I know McCarthy took credit for that screen pass that he should have eaten. Um,
Yeah.
that was bad. The fumble. I mean, that's Khalil Mack making a play, but I don't know. It's you expect him to play, and for anybody that watched the Vikings in the first game, in that noon game, I mean, they look good. That defense is legit. I told a friend that I've been guilty of when I play my son in Madden 19 or Madden 18, whichever the newest one is. Um, I have at times picked the Vikings because that's a pretty fun defense to play with, and I got to tell you, watching them play at noon, I mean, I told somebody, I said, hey, they looked as good in real life as they do when I'm playing them in Madden. But I mean, you've got Harrison Smith coming from everywhere, and you've got Eric Kendricks, and you have Joseph, and that is I think Rhodes got hurt, but they such a talented secondary. Offensively, they've got Dalvin Cook, their exciting rookie from last year, that got hurt right off the bat. Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph, and now Kirk Cousins, who look pretty good. So I mean, this is another test. I would say one thing interesting schematically is that when San Francisco did have a little bit of success, it was throwing to Kittle, their tight end. So is this a week where Jimmy Graham gets a little more involved? Maybe with, again, I think a quick rhythmic passing game. The running game, I think, has got to sustain and take pressure off. Jamal Williams, his biggest contribution was his blitz pickup on that 51-yard catch and run by Devontae Adams that set up his short touchdown. Was maybe the unsung play of the game. If he doesn't, and I mean, that's a man's block. He stuck his nose in there, and he's a guy that likes doing that. But he took on that bull rush, and Chicago wasn't messing around. I mean, it was a lot of bull rushes. It was a lot of, it's me on you, and I'm gonna try and put you on wheels. So, that was a big boy block by him. But you got to be able to run it a little bit, I think, and take pressure off of Rodgers. And defensively, they have to pick up where they left off and not where they started. It was a great effort. I think Kentrell Brice, starting at safety with Clinton Dix, he graded out as the highest guy on the defense. You had Kevin King making plays. You had Jari Alexander making a big play. Josh Jackson got the start. Clay Matthews, don't make any more stupid plays. Don't launch yourself at guys. I think they can be okay. And then from a special team standpoint, Trevor Davis was just put on IR. So more pressure on Montgomery and I think Cobb to keep supplying a spark. So
Let's
it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, no, definitely not. How about the schematics? Mike Pettin as the defensive coordinator, and what kind of things did you like out of that young secondary on Sunday night?
I mean, I just like that, and I think Chicago, really for Trubisky's benefit, I mean, it was very quick. Quick passes to Cohen, who's just, man, does he look fat. He looks like he's at a different speed than everybody else on that field when he gets that ball. Um, but, between Howard and Cohen, a lot of quick stuff. They've got Trey Burton now, but they've got a lot of talent on that offense with Allen Robinson and all those guys. So, I like that they kept things in front of them. I thought they tackled well at the point of attack. Little sloppy early, but I mean, that there is no comeback if they don't force the 3-and-out. So, I mean, the way they came together at the end, the pressure they got, Matthews play aside, Perry's play at the end, a lot of really big plays defensively that secured that win.
So, on this podcast, best what you want to call it. I can still hear you.
Mm-hmm.
We have people watching. And
Can they see you? Are you still with us? I can hear you.
some of them are still there. Yeah. People just cruise through Facebook in the evening wanting to hear about the Packers. What else impressed you about the Packers in that win? We could talk about Aaron Rodgers all night and we'll talk about the defense, but what else kind of stood up for you there?
Well, I mean, I think I think you're seeing the receivers do what they need to do. I mean, Devontae Adams looked like a number one receiver. The play he made, with the catch and run, with what he did at the end of that play with Kyle Fuller, who, keep in mind, Kyle Fuller is a guy that Green Bay signed to an offer sheet in the offseason. So this is a guy that they thought highly of, that certainly is the Bears' number one corner. His just single-mindedness to get into the end zone, I think he operated like a number one receiver. I think Allison in that number 3 spot, perfect catch, but just his, it was the subtle things. It was his body control. And then, Cobb, I think, turned around and that was a career day for him, 9 catches with 142 yards receiving. So, I don't know if that's going to happen every week, but with this quick rhythm passing game, it may be more. So, and again, I think Bulaga, I mean, he had his hands full. There's some things they have to clean up on the inside. You had, obviously Hicks got in there way too much. Probably not the best game ever for Justin McCray and maybe Corey Linsley on the inside. But I think defensively, you've got to be excited about the young secondary. I think from a linebacking standpoint on the inside, I mean, you had guys like Morrison, who's new, coming in and making plays. You've got Blake Martinez out there really kind of operating in a decision-making role. So a lot of little things I think really came together. So
you talked about Clay Matthews and his hit, and he wasn't really around the quarterback prior to that. What was his reaction when he was asked about that afterwards?
I mean, I think downplaying it a little bit, but I'm pretty sure Nick Perry is telling him what he owes him for bailing him out there. But I mean, there's no other way to call it than it was a really dumb play by a veteran that should know better. I mean, it kind of looks worse because he hadn't been around the quarterback much all day, and then. I mean, the ball was clearly out of Trubisky's hand, and he launched himself at it. So, the launching, the helmet to helmet, I mean, all kinds of things wrong with the decision making there. Not to mention, the point in the game. So he really got bailed out on that. He's such a he remains a key player in that defense, but he's got to play in control a little bit. It was out of character for him. So. Hopefully he comes back against Minnesota and makes the type of plays that we know he can make.
So we figured we would do this in about a 20-minute time window, and we just have about 20 seconds left, and that'll be
All
our
right.
20 minutes. So our plan for Keith and I is to do this, try to have Keith live from the press box at Lambeau Field, see if we can do that for the next home game, and then share his thoughts following at some point during the midweek. So we'll keep working out technical things, and thanks to my son Evan for figuring out audio and video and watching for a little bit. So all it takes is just a 15-year-old to figure things out. So
It's usually how it goes.
yeah, exactly. So for Keith, I'm Bryon. This will end our It's a Dig Route podcast.
All right.
Thanks
Check
for
us out
watching.
next time. We'll talk to you later, Bryon.
Later, Keith.